Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Look what we got here. So I pulled a draft. I had enough gold to do a free draft, and when that happens, I know I'm supposed to save it for a new set. I'm supposed to buy packs, but I kind of hate buying packs. I would much rather use the gold in here and just see how it plays out, if that makes sense. And so what I did was I did a little bit of value drafting, and I took the rares. We started with March of the Swirling Wisp as a pack one, pick one, and I thought for sure I'm gonna do this blue thing, and I kind of picked a shrine which has a, I don't know, not a lot to it necessarily. It kind of becomes a bit of a mill deck strategy. And then I picked a shrine in the third pack, and I was like, "Ooh, am I going to go with all these different colored shrines?" And then it just didn't happen. Like, I think I got a Seiju in the fourth pick, and things just started pulling me towards green. I started getting a little nervous on pack two because I had these defender cards, Guardians of Oboro, and I also had this like Moon Circuit Hacker and a couple of these harmonious emergences, but I wasn't happy with the card quality that I had on any of the cards whatsoever. I had a Tameo Safekeeping. I know that was one of the cards that I had had. And so I just started looking for what would be the best card and kind of opening the box, like opening the color scheme up. And March of Burgeoning Life was pack two, pick one. And I thought, well, it's a rare, and that's kind of what I'm here to do, is gather rares, and it's in a color that I could use. But it's just not really that important. Um, the only card that I think like, this would really pay off in order to grab, because you could just get a creature, right, with a mana value less than whatever the X is in the, so it's X plus one. Well, this is a 7 mana. That'd take 8 mana to go find. And as good as a 6/5 is, it's not worth 8 mana to go find and bring it and then cast it and then wait and then there's summoning sickness. Like it would have been like 4 turn kind of strategy to make this thing hit the deck again. And it just doesn't win games like that. In fact, I'll get into what I've learned like in testing on this. But it just, I couldn't find a card that I thought was must have. Um, Also, I think pack two, pick two, I picked up this mirror box that was in there. I thought, well, it's possible that we can use, like, if we get a lot more of these shrines, it's possible that we end up going that way, but we didn't. Somewhere down the road, I picked up at the end like some of these black cards that were in there, but things did start to pull me towards green, and that's when I started picking up these 2 drops, and that's when I started picking up like some of the safekeepings were all like late picks in pack two, and it just sort of solidified the green blue strategy. I didn't take a lot of blue though, you'll see. I got this one, which I really like this card. I've actually grown to love this card. It pauses things for 2 turns, so if you wait until they attack and then you toss it out there, you can really freeze their side of the board quite a bit. Tameo's Completion was just a removal that I picked up in the middle of pack 2. The Sky Swimmer Koi has no synergy with any artifact. We don't have a single artifact in the deck, but he's a 3/3 flyer, and he's a little bit evasive, and I kind of like that. I'll get into why in a second. But these Favor of Jukais were like swimming everywhere, and I was like, that's got to be the worst card. Nobody's picking it, you know? And I started taking these things instead, like Seasons of Renewals, thinking I'm going to do some, enchantment graveyard recursion kinds of strategies. And, return a target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. That's pretty good if you've got the Colossal Sky Turtle in there. And so what you can do is you can Colossal Sky Turtle out something like a Tales of Master Shishiro, and then you can Season Renewal back the Colossal Sky Turtle, and you can just keep go back and forth and back and forth. If you've got the 2 cards here, you're in good shape. Yeah, target card from your graveyard, it costs 3. Target creature costs 2. So pretty cool. Go shopping in your graveyard for anything you want. Go shopping in your graveyard for anything you want. I still think that there's probably a good use of Seasons of Renewals and Colossal Sky Turtles together that would bring back some of the creatures, or maybe even bring back like a Boseiju as an example. because once this thing transforms, it's still on the deck, so I can't really like have 2 or 3 of these things. But getting like Tales of Master Shishiro and using this to return a target creature to its owner's hand, you could return the 5/5 haster just after it attacks if you feel like it's not really doing what you need it to do, and then you can bring it back out and get the +1/+1s again and do it all again. Um, Reasons why I don't want to do that necessarily are that you're leaving you're using your 6/5 flyer, which is kind of a win con, and you're giving up a 5/5 haster with vigilance, which is also a win con in this format, in the hopes of getting an extra couple +2s is really expensive, and I don't see it working out too often. You might be able to get a Tamiyo's completion out of there in order to maybe force a removal on a threat that could kill you. But this is where I started to recognize that there was actually a synergy in our deck that I wasn't completely drafting towards, but that I started to become aware of towards the end. And it was when I was looking at these coiling stalkers. I ended up like last picking these, like 2 more of these. So I only had 1 with like 3 picks left in the draft. But I ended up with 3 total. And what I noticed was they have this thing where if they ninjutsu, you don't even have to ninjutsu in, but when they damage a creature, they can put a +1 on another creature. And then I started looking at these Guardians of Oboro, which, a 3/4 blocker is not the greatest, but it has this thing that says modified creatures you control attack as though they didn't have defender. And I did have a bamboo archer as like, a way to sort of let the board develop a little bit more. And I thought, I could go pure defense. I also had the Goshintai of Lost Wisdom in there as well. But I was thinking I could go pure defense with 2 mana creatures and 3 mana creatures, and then I can use things like the Fang of Shigeki in order to allow a Coiling Stalker to ninjutsu in order to throwing a +1 on a Guardians of Oboro, and now I've got a 4/5 attacking creature that essentially was just kind of a bit of a battle trick to make happen to a certain extent. And I thought, well, that's pretty good. What other things do +1s that are in there? And this is where I came up with this thing will come in with a +1 counter on it if another creature is already modified. So that's pretty good. And then the Story Weave puts 2 +1 counters on a target creature you control. Or you can rush a thing like a Tales of Master Shishiro, still get the stuff because it just adds lore counters, so you just go right through them, and then each enters with 2 additional +1 counters on it, which I think is probably the best use of this card possible. So you can get to a Beseiju, like you can throw it out, get your 2 lands, you know what I mean, throw the land if you needed to, and then on the next turn you can cast the Story Weave, and then this thing comes out as whatever your land count is, which is at least 4, probably 5 at that point. So you got a minimum 5/5 with another +1/+1. So now you've got a 7/7 guaranteed on turn 5. And I thought, wow, that's kind of like a ramp strategy that I didn't think about. I also had a favor of Jukai or 2, and this thing ended up becoming more of like my removal. If Tamiyo's completion is great as far as removal is concerned, but Master's Rebuke is only good if you've got like the Fang of Shigeki out there, or if you've got like a Guardians of Oboro, right? Like something that's big and can, take the hit kind of deal. So it doesn't have to worry about the crackback, but you do need to have at least 3 damage capable if you want to use it as a removal spell in that like 2, 3, 4 turn kind of deal, because otherwise you see we graduate pretty quick. But put a favor of Jukai on something, and quite quickly, you've got yourself a really nice Master's Rebuke that can come into play. So, Master's Rebuke was 1 removal, Tamiyo's completion is 2, and I'm not really happy unless I've got something like 4 or 5 ways to take something off the board. So, Tamiyo's safekeeping is one way of doing it. You can kind of, what looked like a trade can suddenly become a bit of a not trade and save your character's life. I wouldn't necessarily call it removal, but it is something to look at. But these Favor of Jukais became really solid removal spells. At 2 mana, you can channel this thing, discard the card, and the target creature gets +3/+3 and gains reach until the end of the turn. And so what looks like nothing You know what I mean? Like just nothing. Guardians of Oboro just sitting there suddenly becomes a 6/7 reaching blocker that just will annihilate whatever is attacking it, most likely. And so I really like the Favor of Jukai as its 2 mana version. If it's later in the game, I definitely want it in its 3 mana version. But if I see them early, I'm just looking at them as like battle tricks that I can turn into some really nice removals. And so now we're looking at, 3 2 mana removal spells and 1 4 mana removal spell. And I'm starting to feel solid about that. This could be used as a removal spell as well, in the idea that it's a battle trick. It's instant. You can put 2 counters on a target creature that you want, and you can kind of really step into what's going on there. I do think that the Jukai trainee just is a good performer. It's a 2 mana, but it's really, once it's not dishing 3 damage when it attacks or when it blocks, unless it becomes blocked or unless you choose to use it as a blocker, in which case it becomes a really excellent defender in the 2 mana position. I have no problems putting one of these out on the early side, then attacking. They've got something with only 3 toughness. They choose not to block it. I ninjutsu out the Coiling Stalker. The Coiling Stalker lands, hits, drops its own +1 on itself or on the Bamboo Archer or the Guardians of Oboro, something like this. Coiling Stalker is now back, and for 2 more mana, I can just do this again. So once you get to 3 and 4 mana slots, you should be able to do this a lot. This little bounce back and forth kind of deal. It's a lot harder to get the Coiling Stalker across the finish line at 2/1 than it is at 3/2, or than it is even at 4, 5, 6. It starts to become a pretty good threat. And so in testing, where I went to the bot matches, I had things like the Season of Renewal and the Colossal Sky Turtle. I had the Harmonious Emergence as a 4 mana 4/5, which was going to take up a land, but then I can't use the land because then it taps and then it kind of messes everything up. And I started to recognize how janky these things started to feel and how many things had to go right in order for me to use them. And that just didn't work. What I really needed was threats on the ground that stopped them from coming through, and interactions. And that's what I ended up with. So Final Deck has a 3 average with 14 creatures, 9 non-creatures, and 2 of those are enchantments that are very, very solid. A 5/5 with Vigilance and Haste, and something that's at least a 5/5 coming out of this one. So pretty decent sized bodies, pretty nice pump spells, some decent removal brought into it, and just a really amazing amount of value in some of our cards that are down here near the bottom compared to what we're costing to spend on them. Tamiyo Safekeeping, I could get rid of one because I haven't really needed it necessarily. It just kind of sits there. It's not. And I could bring back a Coiling Stalker if I do. Or I could bring back a Season of Renewal, which would be an interesting way for me to return an enchantment card from the graveyard to the hand. All of these are pretty much enchantments. This would be the other one where it's really expensive. I don't know how I do that. Why do I do that? She's kind of interesting. She's a 2/1 that can attach to become. I kind of like it. I can attach her to a Guardian in order to make the Guardian a 5/5. And it'll be a 5/5 with Ward 2, which is pretty solid. Attaching is expensive, but I don't mind casting her and just having her take up 2 extra mana on the turn that they have to use a removal spell on. I kind of like the offensive nature of that. I was just about to drop one of these down too. I still want 17 lands. I like the creature count being a little higher. That's fine. 16's my love, and these 2 are you know, we might use a creature card in a non-creature way, and then we're definitely going to get a creature out of these two. So we're really going to average something like 16 creatures overall, and so that's pretty good. So anyway, that's our deck. It is very much not a traditional deck, if you ask me, but I do think that it seems fundamentally solid. Now, I played one game because I was starting to get nervous about this whole deck, thinking, I just don't know. I couldn't win against the bots with the current setup, but moving out some of these enchantment auras and moving in some of the two bodies that, like the two drops that had some positive effect to it all, started to make it so that I was able to, I don't want to say control, but I could control the board state a lot more. And if I can control the board state, I can usually get to this upper deck area where I'm really pretty strong. I feel like a 5/5 that also made, you know, two other things +2/+2s, essentially, or one other thing +1/+1, and then another one +1/+1. So it's essentially adding like 7 damage a turn is pretty good. It's actually even better than this to a certain extent. So I don't know. This is just a really highly versatile kind of card. It's a good finisher at the end. It can save one of your creatures in an attack situation because you can just bring it right back. So you can kind of maintain some card advantage, getting an opportunity to recast some things, you know, and sort of negate their ability. If they've got, I don't know. If they've got just about anything, if they got a big attacker coming in and you want to drop block, you can block it with like something like a Coiling Stalker that's going to get annihilated, and then bounce him back, and then throw him back out there, and then do it again. That would be like a double block on a 2-mana creature for a total of 6 mana, like 2 to originally cast it, 2 to bounce him back, and 2 more to go in. So there's some cool things going on around here. Overall, though, the Saiba Trespassers kind of work like a way to pause their 2 biggest threats, and not so much on a defensive side of strategy. I really don't have a lot of defensive strategy. I would be using it as an offensive strategy. If we are on defense, I'm probably not going to spend the 4 mana to cast this thing here. Instead, I'm going to probably bring this out as a 3/5 blocker that continuously blocks. Guardians of Obura, though, there's so many different ways for us to put counters onto things that these things are not just defense. They are actually really solid positive. Like, just think of them as 4/5 4 5s, like 4/5 for 5 that you can get out there on turn 3. That's a little crazy to say. Goshen Tai is another way to just put modifications on something. And the final card that we haven't talked about is just when you've got a modified creature, this thing comes out as a modified creature. And so once we get something modified, which 2 mana right here can make this thing modified at the end of its first turn, we were in good shape. So very little not putting +1/+1 counters, but they're important bodies to make sure that we've got some kind of things to stop. And I do think that this is an artifact. It could trigger this and draw a card if you discard a card. So that works. Okay, so let's go back in. We did win our first match really, really handily. Like, it was... I feel bad. I don't feel bad, but I don't feel bad at all. We had to mulligan in the beginning. We have 3 lands here, so we're probably not mulligan. Tamiyo's Completion, Saiba Trespasser, we've got kind of like our later game blue cards in here. But we do have a 2-drop, a 3-drop, and we've got the mana to accomplish both. So we're going to snap heap on this. Throw in the green as the word go. And this would be our next, if we can get... Ooh. Yep. Part of me wanted to consider putting out the Goshen Tai. Ha! Look at you. What do you think? Yep. He was nervous about a trick, and he's going to try to mill me to death. I guess here comes the trick. nice. I dig it. Okay, so we have 4 mana, and what we can do is attach the arm guard, right? Toad Rider's pretty scary stuff, man. What if we get rid of Toad Rider? Whenever you cast an enchantment spell, if you don't control a creature named Kemi, you get to create a black legendary creature frog named Kemi. If it's an equipment, permanent loses all its abilities and doesn't untap during its untapped turn. Yeah, I'm getting rid of that, man. That thing scares me. For sure. If he wants to lose his Moon Snare, I like the trade on either of those. So I'm okay with either one. And that's what I meant by controlling the board state, right? So he can definitely do his ninjutsu thing again, which scares me, but it's gonna kill my Question Stalker. I'm gonna hold on to that. Your choice. Yeah, I don't think we're gonna get a lot of opportunities. Give it +2 in attack, or you can do a -1, or you can just gain 2 life. Getting this thing an extra +1 is less important to me than getting a chance to attack and maybe doing a -3 on the next one here. It does also attract a removal spell, maybe? Maybe? Here comes a ninja. Something's gonna die. I'm gonna guess it's my Saiba Trespassers. I didn't die. Interesting. There's some smart one. What's going on right here? Yeah, I'll stick it in there, it's fine. Okay with this. 2/3 can attack in, 2/2 can attack in. This ninja shenanigans is always tough to beat. Would love to get like a Master's Rebuke or something that would go over the top. Maybe the fish or the turtle that are flying. Both of those are excellent creatures to accomplish what I need to accomplish here. But Ball Ninja doesn't scare me that much. Okay. Guess we'll just do this. Hold back. It's easy. Auto gain. Get bigger. Target a shrine. I guess that's the only shrine I got. Death Toucher 2/2. Ugh. You're shitting me. do now. I need that remove spell, and I need to get rid of that Goshintai cruelty, like ASAP. But I don't like this. I certainly don't like flooding. 7 mana, so there's nothing that we can't cast. We have 8 mana so far. Do your thing. I feel like I'm going to get bounced again. I could be wrong, but we'll find out. Actually, no. Just a life gain. Oh, no. I think I'm dead. There's nothing to do with that. This isn't going well, unfortunately. He's got some really strong cards, and I can totally see how they work together. I really like this card. It's pretty cool. You thought about it. Stuck. I got 20 left. What do you do, man? What do you do? There's nothing to do. We are stuck. Okay, maybe a Colossal Sky Turtle works. But it's okay. This board is scary. What kind of trip do we have in store here? Well, I Can't survive a crackback. How? Like, how does he to take out my one Death Toucher? Like, dude. 16. No attacks. If I would attack in, he's got the chance to crack back. I just can't give up life like that just to get him down to 8. 8's not enough. I would really, really, really like a favor of Jukai to put on top of the Colossal Sky Turtle. That's fine. That's gonna hurt. That's gonna change it. I gotta delete that. A story weave is not enough, but we're dead, right? Let's see what happens here. I think I'd rather just get rid of that thing. I don't think that worked, but it was the closest thing I had to an answer, and that was to just try to minimize what was going to happen. A removal spell against the future operative would be good. Right now he's threatening 6, 7, 8, 9. We only have 8, so we're definitely blocking here. We can't block that, which means we're dead on 2 turns. If I can get the removal spell, I'll be in a much happier position. I don't think I can block it, right? Yeah. He had a good game. There just wasn't much we can do. But we did what we could. That futurist operative got us without the ability to draw a removal spell. We did get a chance to use the Story Weave and turn it into a triple removal, which was kind of cool. But ultimately it didn't pay off, and we got annihilated. That is what is going to happen occasionally. Okay. I can't do 2 land hands, unfortunately. We'll get rid of... we've got some 2-drops and the Story Weave. We'll get rid of this. Probably want to keep the Stalker. Nice. It's fine. Give me a card. That'll work. You have something you can do. Feel free. I have a lot of bodies still have to draw. 6 lands. Almost halfway done with my lands. And 3 bodies. I try to make the deck like 16 creatures so that, you know, a third of the cards are creatures, a third of them are land, and everything else is kind of in the mix. Yeah, we did it. Alright, so we should have, you know, 16 out of, really closer to like, yeah, 16. So 16 out of however many cards we've got left in the deck, which it looks like 11 on the land side. Well, let's do it like this, 28. So we've lost 3 of our 16, which gives us with 13 out of 28. So we're pretty much at 50-50. We have a 50-50 shot at drawing a creature. From this point on, let's see if we get a creature happen. You don't have to think all this through every time. Like, you just can go forward. You sit here and think, like, well, wait a minute, what's changed? He's gotten his turn. That's what's changed. And it's like, dude, stop it. You don't need to do that. It's an interesting race we've got going on here. If he throws a burn spell at it, a removal, something along those lines. Like, pass. 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 Alright. And look, hey, we got a creature! We got a creature! Okay. Yep. This is a fun race. I feel like I'm winning. I just wish it was going faster than this. Ah, got it. Enter. Okay. I kind of think he's just slow rolling because he's just doing it because he's frustrated. He's like, click, and click, and click, and click. I'm curious to know. I think he's got a lot of burn removal spells in it, possibly. Hello. Come on! You can do it! This would be a real fun time for me to have had a Bladed Coil Serpent, because if I could ninjutsu him in on the Saiba, I could throw the +1 over onto the Guardians and turn them into an offense and then be done in 2 turns instead of this. Put him out there. Did it! He got an offense. My turn. Let's see. You're too obvious with your burn spells, my friend. You're too obvious. He waited a long time for that Curious Flame to come out. So, what have we learned? Burn, red, not that strong. Devouring Chaos, a legendary ogre demon that can exile the top card of your library, and then you can play it. And when you do, exile a non-land card this way. It deals damage equal to the exiled card's mana value to any target. Kind of expensive when you think about it, because he's got to tap, so that's 4 damage he's not doing. He's got to spend 3 mana. Now, he had 5, 6, 7, 8, so he could do up to 5 damage. And that sort of makes sense, because he doesn't put himself at risk. But he also and then he gets the card that he casts as well. So he had a lot of positive things late game. But to throw him out on turn 4, not ideal. Pugnacious, Pugilist. When it attacks, you get a 1/1 red token. When this creature dies, it deals 1 damage. Kind of cool. He's like a better Squee. He has a blitz cost too, so he can come in, create that. Boom, boom, boom. Make it say away. A 4/4 with haste that draws a card and creates a 1/1 that does an extra damage after it dies. That's better than I thought it was. That is much better than I thought it was. Okay, so we're currently sitting at 2-1, and we're rolling. Keep rolling. We didn't do bad either on our second game. And there's one thing I would tell you is that the creature count in this helps make it steady Eddie. 2 favors of Jukai. 3 mana. We only need 2. I'd like to get to the 4th mana. But we're definitely on a keep on this thing. Yeah. Let's see. I think I want him out there. Because if there is no attempt here, I might be okay with this. It might be okay, it might not. It's up to you. Okay, this is coming up. Okay. I don't really want to lose my Coiling Stalker, and so I'm just going to let him attack if he attacks it. All of this is because we pulled the Siege. Man, that card sucks. Coiling Serpent is dead now, right? So if Unforgiven 1 comes in, I say he's dead. He needs 1 more shrine before he's dead. Yep. Okay. Unfortunately, we didn't get what we were looking for, so we're just going to put this like this, and then we're going to go next, and then we're going to say, he would never trade the Goshintai, so he's not going to make the block that I need him to make, and that means that it's just not right. This would go 2-1, would make him a 4-2, and that's the problem. I'm losing somebody. Oops. Okay. I think I need to consider how I'm going to get through this. If I all attack now, I can use just 1 favor of Jukai. I kind of think that the Sage is the right answer, unfortunately, and we just have to be willing to lose the Stalker. We just have to be willing to lose both of them, to be honest. What I wouldn't give for that removal spell. Like, it's such a pain in the ass. I would definitely double tap the shrines too. Um, let's see. Stupid shrine. Could have got rid of that, It's a lot of removal. That's all this has been. I think I would do it. Yeah. I'm okay with that. Now if I can just get something like a Sky Turtle or even another, like, at least just the threat of dying isn't constantly there. Okay. I don't think we're winning this. And that Master's Rebuke would have been huge. He had a lot of good removal. A lot of good removal in this deck. I gotta hand it to him. He had some serious cards there. Yeah. Okay. I mean, I'm sure he's gonna trick, but maybe just sit there and die. Okay, moving on. So, no, I did not have fun with that. No, I did not. Started out okay. I would have finished up very, very poorly. Man, those, twice we run into that black shrine, and twice it has been the reason why we died. So, if we see a black shrine, in the future. after this too. So we'll do another draft and then get familiar with it. 2 mana stuff, only 2. But because I have 3 cards that are 2-drops, I'm feeling a lot stronger about saying, okay, there's no reason to put out one of the cards. I like the Boundless Vigor, but only after I've got like a blocker or 2, something that will kind of hold the board state to allow it to get to like 3 or 4. Otherwise, it's just a lot. Confused. Color me confused. It's okay. Oh, shit. Has it all been... Oh, fuck. That hurts. Oh, that sucks. Oh, that hurts. Oh, he's going to be able to take a card. He's going to take the Sky Turtle, and that is okay. I just can't believe I'm mana locked. I thought I had a blue. I'm wrong. I don't. Okay. Come do your 3 damage. Sad. I think we lost again because of the mana. No, we definitely lost again. I almost wonder if it's ever really worth playing one color. Because, like... this happens really too. Nothing I can do when I don't have the mana to do. And so that's it, right? That's a shame. It's the second time that I've died out. I've just completely stalled out here. And it's just really, really rough. I do think that we should have done much better with that draft. All being said, we got out of it. I mean, it was... Oh. I take everything back. It was the best draft I've ever done in my life. Do you know how many times I have wanted another Big Buster? We'll start here and say yes and no. they've done. We'll go here. This is the human Innistrad. That's why I call it the human in. I don't have one there. Don't have one there. Don't have one there. Not there. Not there. Not there. Not there. Not there. Nope. I don't think so. You don't need card draw on this one. Maybe. Big blue is fun. Probably take that over these. Well, that's not bad, actually. That's pretty bad. Do we have more of these? No. Here we go. Okay. So we put the, we can delete the draft deck. And the ninjas don't have it. Control reanimate, I think, might. Nope. This was Crow's reanimation that he did. I don't have the Brotherhood's end that he puts right here, and I didn't have the spells that he uses for the reanimation in the whatever it is, the Kami Dragon War. I'm mistaken, right? Is it the Kami War? Return up to one other non-land permanent to its owner's hand, then each opponent discards a card. No, that's not it. Elder Dragon War. It deals 2 damage to each creature and each opponent. Discard any number of cards, then draw that many cards, and then create a 4/4 flyer. Pretty solid in every aspect of what you want to do in a reanimation style deck. Unfortunately, I didn't do the reanimation pieces that much, and so I just kind of focused more on surviving longer by getting some more of these reanimation pieces into it. In hopes, maybe, who knows? Maybe. But there you go. Alright, nobody needs to see that. Let's go back and let's do a draft. We're over 6,000 gems. What are we doing? We're starting to get the hang of this. And we actually like the cards in Neon Dynasty. There are a lot of cards that I like. I feel relatively familiar with it. And so I'm A-okay with doing another draft. So let's take a look. We drafted Satsuki, the Living Lore, a 1/3, and you put a lore counter on each saga you control, but only as a sorcery. When the Living Lore dies, you can choose one, return a target saga or enchantment creature you control back to your hand. I guess that could be from the graveyard? Or return a target saga card from your graveyard to your hand. I'm going to go with... It's hard not to pick up 3 or 4 sagas, which is what you need to make it worth it. All the abilities on it are very saga focused, so you should know where it fits, but I like sagas. What other things would we not get, right? Tempered in Solitude, whenever a creature you control attacks alone, you can exile top card in your library, play again. Lucky Offering. Moonsnare Specialist is pretty good in the blue control deck. It's a common, so we don't have to. Another really good saga to look into. Heir of Ancient Fang was not really my exciting kind of piece. I tried it. I couldn't figure it out. And then Lethal Exploit was pretty good. Even at 2/2, it's a solid removal spell for 2. And sometimes it'll go a little bigger. No complaints here. I kind of like it, but we're going to take the rare because we're kind of in here for rares anyway. And there is nothing powerful in this set that I know of besides sagas. So, swinging out, looking at white, looking at green and seeing two cards that are pretty solid. One card that's not very good. Very good. Very good. So let's take a look at this Samurai. Whenever it attacks alone, it gains lifelink. Another target creature you control gains indestructible if you sacrifice it. It can even give itself lifelink if need be, and it can help save other creatures. It's a premium 2-drop, and it should be picked up accordingly, and I kind of agree. We do have a Saga over here. It's not in any of the colors of the Living Lore. And then we do have this. It's an awesome little card. Not only is it cute, it fits perfectly into just about every deck. It's an enchantment for decks. It's a great thing to return off of ninjas. It holds equipment. For just 2 mana and no cost, you rarely get a better deal. I kind of agree, but I think we'll get a better shot at getting that later. And so I'm going to go with the Selfless Samurai as a bit of a samurai leaning kind of theme. And here we have an enchantment samurai that hands out a +1. It attacks by itself as a 3/2. It counts as an enchantment. It has a decent impact later in the game. It doesn't get much better at common. Probably pick these up for sure. This is a super fun 1-drop to put in your hand. But we do have a Saga, and it is one of the greatest. This is just a common, and I'm going to take this Saga. I really like this Saga, and if this thing can get there quicker with this thing sitting out there, I am a very, very happy man. Look at the top 4 cards of your library, reveal an enchantment or land card. Yeah. I need to affect the board. I need to affect like where the players are. This one's pretty good too. What do you get? Like you get a card draw. I'll take the plus. Nope, just kidding. I'll take this as a bit of a bomb. Another one. Exile target creature an opponent controls with mana value 4 or greater. Each player gains all control of all permanents they own. Exile this Saga and return it with a 1/3 that will replace itself. So really, it's the first chapter, right? Yeah. Oh no, we got another one of these. Huh. A lot of good things to pick here, but this is really tough. I think we're going to do this because I think it's got the biggest effect. I do like the idea of maybe gaining back a creature that was wrapped up, so to speak. I don't see a lot of that, but I do know that there are some spells. This is one of the best, by the way. Certainly one of the best ninjas, I think. Solid inclusion in any deck, especially if you're leaning into the ninja theme. I agree. Regent's Authority is just a little trick, so it's really this or this. 2 mana creature, 3 mana Saga, but I'm not that excited about the second half, so it's really like a 3 mana removal spell that has a 1/3 defender to turn back into a card draw later. Ooh, I kind of want this more. It's so early that if they do end up with getting shrines, I'm just going to be much happier. Prosperous Thief is really solid. All the ninjas seem to be pretty solid, to be honest with you. And Favor of Jukai is... it's a 2 mana 3/3 pump. Or we could try to solve our mana problems. Having a green-white pip early means this is probably a better card. This will come back around too. I bet we end up wheeling that. Ooh. Scry 2, game 2, exile with a 2/2 with first strike. Nice. This is solid too. Okay. 2-mana Saga. Oh, Befriending the Moss is good too. A life-linking Fox comes in late in the game. I told you we would have another chance at that. This has never been that good. We're sticking with the Saga theme here. We are building a deck of Sagas. When we were young, up to 2 target creatures each get +2/+2 until the end of the turn. If you control an artifact and an enchantment, those creatures also get lifelink. Yeah, that's not going to happen. I kind of think though that like late game, I have been stuck quite a few times. 4-mana 2/4 that does something along the lines of proliferate. Hmm. It's the best card in the deck. And this is the 2-mana cutie. I just 4 mana to cast that thing is stupid. That's not gonna work. I guess we take the 1-mana drop in hopes, right? In hopes. We may play it, we may not. We'll see. When a creature you control attacks alone, exile the top card of your library and you may play that card. So it's kind of fits our theme, our samurai theme. Network Terminal is a splash theme. Tap